going on, my brother? How you doing today, man?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
All right, man. I was waiting for my brother David from No Compromise to get in here, man. But I'm pretty sure he'll get in. Hey, I'm about to start with the questions, my brother. Um, you know I'm finna hit you. I don't know if you've been on social media, but you know I'm finna hit you.
It depends. I've been
What
hosting.
do
I've been hosting a space today. So if it's pertaining to the space that I had, go ahead and shoot.
Okay, this is about. I'm gonna relate it to this. Do you feel like Meg The Stallion and DL Hughley is on code with our people, whether they're right or wrong? Do you feel like they've been on code with our people?
I feel like DL Hughley has for the most part because he's been around longer. As far as Megan Thee Stallion, she's just trying to find her place.
Since you're trying to find a place. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Why do you think we are so quick to publicly condemn each other in front of the dominant society?
Good question. I'm about to sit on that.
Said I'm about to sit on that. Okay.
Well,
All right.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you come about this space today? What made you want to start this space and talk about this, if I can ask?
Yeah, good question. The reason why I wanted to talk about it is because as Nelly Fuller Jr. talks about, and it is true, we don't have a code established. And I feel like now is the time we need to start condemning each other behind closed doors. You know what I mean? And I got
I get
love for
what you're
DL.
saying. I get what
I,
exactly what you're saying. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I got love. No, go ahead. You can jump in anytime, bro. I got love for DL Hughley, and I'm not saying what DL Hughley said is incorrect. So let's just keep it in context. Like I'm not saying what he said is incorrect. What I'm clearly stating is this: the white Jewish community is never going to turn on each other. The white Jewish community is never going to throw each other under the bus, and the white Jewish community is never going to be told. They're never going to say what's being said in the room when we're not around. They're just never going to do that. And I feel like we lack that because a lot of times, we want to publicly condemn each other because things are made public. But a lot of times we're doing it because we want to shine a different light on us. See, I'm publicly condemning my counterpart, my people. And that a lot of it, I see it at the corporate plantation, at the jobs, and a lot of it, I just see it in life. But you don't never see the dominant society publicly condemning each other to the point where it's almost like, damn man, why you say that? Do you understand what I'm saying? The last time I think we really learned, and I'm always bringing this up, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. I got love for Brother Malcolm, but nobody put a gun to his head and told him to go to those white people and start telling them what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam was doing. He broke code. And when he broke code, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, knowing how crooked and evil these people are, he just backed back and said, don't nobody hurt him. Because he knew what those people were going to do to him. And this is what I feel like that needs to come back. We got to stop breaking code. That's why I feel like we have to stop doing that. If anybody want to speak, man, speak your piece. You know what I'm saying? If you got anything, this is. I'm waiting for my brother to get in here, man. My brother David, but this subject being on code is about Meg The Stallion and DL Hughley. Uh, I guess Meg came out and what she stated was a lie. I guess the real doctor that treated her came out and said that those weren't gunshot wounds and she did step on glass. This is what has been said. But my question to everybody is, do y'all feel like Meg The Stallion and DL Hughley was on code?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I really am not aware of the situation. I was just kind of listening to you. I don't know if you want to explain it over again.
Yeah. Well, the topic today was, being on code, and my question is to anybody: do you feel like Meg The Stallion was on code? Meaning this: we don't condone violence against men or women or any of that, but do you feel like what she did was on code during that interview with Gayle King? The interview looked a little suspect. She kind of denied having sexual relations with Tory Lanez. Do you feel like what she did with that interview was on code?
I didn't watch the interview. I'm very behind on this issue. So I'll just drop back down to listener. I'm eager to hear what other people have to say about it.
Oh yeah, no problem. You can speak whenever. And my brother David, man, I got a question. I asked a couple other people the question. I asked my sister a question just now, and my question to you, my brother, it just came out that Meg Thee Stallion might not have been telling the whole truth about what's going on. I guess a doctor came out and said that she did step on glass, and it's a big chance it was just not gunshot wounds. It was basically just glass. Do you feel like Meg The Stallion was on code? That's one. And DL Hughley just came out and made kind of some disparaging comments about Gunna and Young Thug. Basically, well, they're getting indicted because of their names. Do you feel like that's on code behavior, my brother?
Yo, forgive me. Yeah, forgive me. On my end, towards the middle of the question about Megan Thee Stallion, that's when it went out. I didn't hear anything after that.
No, I said, oh, okay, I got you. Basically, Meg The Stallion might be that she wasn't telling the truth about that interview and what really happened with her and Tory Lane. So do you feel like that was on code, one, and then you feel like DL Hughley making disparaging comments about um, Gunna and Young Thug because they just got indicted, so they had to turn themselves in? Do you feel like those comments, basically DL Hughley was like, they got indicted because of their name. They shouldn't call themselves that. Do you feel like that's on code behavior? What Meg Thee Stallion and DL Hughley said in the public?
But I remember we spoke about this before. How how we as black people have to discuss these type of matters behind closed doors. We just continue to keep bringing this out to the front. Um, and so as soon as you bring your business out of your home, you off code. Now, that doesn't mean that the actions of the other person involved in the situation, doesn't mean that their actions are okay. And hey, you could do what you want to do because we're just going to handle you behind closed doors. That it does. I'm not saying that, but as for the responder, you know what I'm saying? The responder, we have to do that behind closed doors. DL Hughley is always off code. Like he's never really been on code. He's always off code. So I'm really not surprised with him. I didn't hear or read the comments that he had. You know what I'm saying? But I don't put it past what you're saying. I don't put it past him. He's always been on code. But as far as with Megan Thee Stallion, we spoke about this the other week, and I don't know if you remember. I said, "Yo, man, I don't know. It sounds like she's not telling the whole story." I said, "But I don't want to, omit her truth if that's truth. I don't want to omit it, but there was too many holes in that interview." So, of course, with Megan just bringing it out a couple of years later with Gayle King, in which Gayle King, we already know she's been on code for years, and she really showed her coattail after Kobe Bryant died, and decided she wanted to throw dirt on this man's name when he cannot defend himself. You know, And not only did she not, it wasn't like she did this on her own or she did this with somebody who is not familiar with. She did it with someone who's familiar with Kobe Bryant, Lisa Leslie. Like they were cool. They played in the same city. So she even tried to get some sort of black girl power going on when Lisa Leslie was like, nah. She stayed on code and said, I'm not answering that. Whatever she has to say, she's gonna say behind closed doors. And she said it herself, yo, you could have asked Kobe that when he was here. So we know we have these people in entertainment that's gonna consistently be off code because they're seeking their notorious manumission.
Ooh. Hey, I'm gonna need you to speak towards meritorious manumission. So that's one, because everybody don't know what that is. And then second, my question is, and when you could bring a meritorious manumission into this answer, why is it we're so quick to speak out against each other in a public forum? Why? Because I don't ever hear the dominant society speak out on each other in a public forum. Normally, the dominant society keep things behind closed doors. Like I told a brother earlier, the dominant society, the white Jewish community, you're never going to know what's going on in their inner circles. Why do we do that, one, to each other, and talk about how it relates to a meritorious manumission?
Okay, so why? What was the first question again? I heard the second question. The first question was what again?
Speak about a meritorious manumission and why we speak out against each other in these public forums and platforms. I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about the D.L. Hugleys, what Meg Thee Stallion did. You know how we quick to condemn other black folk when we have a following, or I'm talking about black folk that are just kind of like innocent bystanders in a sense. You know what I mean? Like Young Thug and Gunna, they shouldn't be indicted just because of their name. But that's what D.L. Hughley was saying. And do you feel like there's a meritorious manumission attached to it? Kind of explain what that is, what meritorious manumission is, and just give your answer of why do we do that to each other in public forums?
Well, I see. We do that to each other in public forum because we're seeking, again, notorious manumission. Black people always have. I'm sorry. Black people, as a whole, we always have this sense of we want to prove to the world that that we can gain our status or we belong where we belong at. We always want to. We have a sense of just proving. We want to prove. D.L. Hughley though, it's hypocritical for him to say anything because I remember he did a skit about how dudes act in the hood. This is I believe this is when he was doing a stand up on Def Comedy Jam in the 90s. And he was talking about how you got different dudes with different names and how you don't mess with some people because of their name has a representation. And he spoke about a guy named Pookie, how your name is, you're Pookie. He even called up, he pointed out a white person in the crowd. I believe it was a white person in the crowd. And he said, yo, asked him where he from and everything. And he said, nah, your name is Pookie. You know what I'm saying? In other words, the Pookies of the world, those are the guys with the reputation of always being in trouble, engaging in misbehavior, you know what I'm saying, ending up in jail, going to jail slim, but coming out swollen. They kind of compare him to the Pookie that was out there in LA and Cali. You know what I'm saying? So it's real hypocritical for him to throw that type of title on someone, but then later on, down through the years when he becomes so-called woke, now he wants to give his opinion and say that that's the name that you gave out. That's the name that you gave yourself when he was giving people names and giving them titles before and saying this is how they were. Him and Chris Rock did the same thing. And, referring to black people as you got some people who are black people who are niggas, and you got some black people who are just black people. And the black people are the intelligent ones. The niggas are the thugs and the criminals, the gangsters, the ones who hang out in the front who ain't got no sense of direction. Those are the niggas who still break into your cars and stuff. Him and Chris Rock was on that code before, but now he's coming back and saying something else. I can't accept what he's saying. But the Notorious Manumission, that was just you as a you would it's an award that a black person would receive if you did a couple of things. If you snitched on if you told on your group or your little your group or your little tribe, I guess, to say, if that you were in, um you would give out information to the slave owners and the slave masters, um, giving them the plans of what the next rebellion and all of that is going to be. You will receive a reward for that. You receive a reward if you were able to go out when they had that runaway slaves. They endorsed that fugitive, the fugitive. This, I believe, is the Fugitive Slave Act, where you can cross lines to go and capture a slave. You can cross your state lines, and so if you from the Confederates, you can go up to the Union to capture your slave. If you can cross state lines. Um, so if you were able to, if sometimes or more than times than often, they used blacks, or they used these so-called Native Americans. Um, So you would do that, and you also would receive Notorious Manumission if you saved your slave owner or your slave master or the slave master's wife from being ambushed by blacks. So you would receive these rewards, and so what type of awards you will receive can be the illusion of freedom, which is how some black people were able to operate and walk around in freedom, even amongst the plantations being 1 mile down. And this is how you got these. You look on the census and you look at some of these of our ancestors, and it show that they were free, and you're like, man, but this was in South Carolina. There weren't too many free slaves just walking around and stuff, but you have them. The Notorious Manumission. But you had the illusion. Again, there was an illusion of freedom. Others, they'll let you work in, you'll still be under slavery, but you can work indoors. This is where this is one part of that whole house Negro, field Negro ideology, because a lot of the times we look at it, right, and we say, oh, only the light-skinned black folks were working in the home or whatever, and that wasn't always the case, though. You had some older blacks who were very, very black, darker than me, working in the home, and they were only about 30 or something, like, all like that. That's still relatively young. You can, as a slave owner, I can work you for 30 more years. So, but you would receive that. You had a chance to uh, uh, be one of the slave patrolmen, one of the watchmen, the back in the days type of policemen. They would give you, give you the illusion of having your badge and everything, and you walk around and make sure you keep the slaves in check. They had so many things, man, with the Notorious Manumission, but basically it was the award that was given to a black person for protecting a white person at any means necessary. And that's where that whole no snitching code came in from, because that destroyed that right there, along with the Willie Lynch letter. That did so much damage because it destroyed the trust. At least with the Willie Lynch letter, it created the competition amongst black men and black women, and the older black men against the younger black men, the older black women against the younger black women, and the lighter black against the darker black. But there still were rebellions and things like that still happened. The Haitian Revolution still happened after the Willie Lynch letter. The Notorious Manumission is the one that really got us. It really got us, and that caused distrust. And when you have distrust, a group of people cannot operate as one. So, in other words, we fell off cold when we coincided with the Notorious Manumission.
Man. Thank you for breaking that down. My brother, thank you for breaking that down. You know I'm gonna hit you with some more questions. Now let me ask you, what is the mental psyche of being on code with your brother or your sister? No matter if you disagree in public or not, what mental psyche should you have? Like what type of mentality should you possess to be on code?
You gotta have the ideology of black nationalism. Black nationalists. You have to think in terms of being black first. There's either you're black first or you nowhere. You ain't not you nothing. That we have to think in terms of that. When we begin to think in terms of we're all black first, I know outside of that we want to call ourselves either, African American, Jamaican, and all these other things, right? I mean, and that's fine. We can call ourselves that, but it's ourselves. When we talk about as a nation, we got to identify as one. And I think one thing that right now we can identify as is being black. You can't, it's hard to kind of fake being black. See, somebody can fool me with being African, right? Just a straight up African. You got white people who are born in South Africa right now, in which their ancestors were some of the Boers. They're coming out saying, well, they're African. And then when they move over here to America, they're calling themselves African Americans. So they, on paper, you would say, man, they got an African name. Okay, I don't know what this person looks like, but it just got to be one of us. And then they walk into that job interview and it's not one of us. They're calling themselves African. You got Asians who move over from Asia to Jamaica. They grow, they lock their hair. I don't know how the heck they do that, but they lock their hair. And after a couple of years, they begin, they got their citizenship, they have children, they start calling themselves Jamaican. You know what I'm saying? So you can fool me with the other names, but when you say I'm black, I can look at you. So even if you try to say get away with this whole mulatto thing, which nobody even uses anymore, but let's say if they bring that back, I can still look at your features and tell, fam, you ain't black. And you got to be black. So we have to think in terms of being black now. You know what I'm saying? So when we do that, we can walk towards building our nation through our liberation. And being on code would mean that we have to, after creating our own nation, being black first, we walk towards revolution, and the revolution is our liberation. There's no one leader, there's no two leaders. Liberation is our leader, and that's what we all look towards. So just in case some of the older folks, if they die out, the younger folks can pick it up and say, we know where to start from, we know where to finish at, because liberation was always the leader. It wasn't Jamie, it wasn't Abdul who was the leader, because once you cut the head off, you ain't got nothing. You nowhere. But how can you stop a group of people who are all on code saying liberation is our revolution? Plain and simple. We're going to revolutionize our economics, education, our religion, our labor, sex, war tactics, everything. We're going to revolutionize our perspective through our liberation. We all have to think like this, and we have to exile those folks, those blacks who are not willing to think the same way we think. We're not talking about, I'm not talking about if you don't agree with me, you need to be exiled. I'm talking about if you're going to compromise the black nation as a whole, you need to be exiled from the black community, and you go to these other communities. You want to go to the white community, go on ahead. You can never come back to our community. Once we exile you, there's no point of return. You can never come back. No apologies, nothing you can do as good. We forgive you because we're forgiving people, but you can never come back. because you put our nation into jeopardy. And if you jeopardize our nation, and if we allow you to get away with that, then there's going to be other black folks who say, what about me? So we can't have that mentality. So again, just in short, we have to think in terms of being black first, which black nationalism, which is what Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Booker T. Washington, these are folks, Ella Baker, these are folks who thought about we have to be black first, black number one first, everything else is second. So your religion, whether you male, female, all that other stuff comes second. What are you? I'm black. What are you? I'm Jamaican. Nah, we're not talking about that. You gotta go somewhere else with that. What are you? I'm Pan-Africanist. No. We gotta be black first, then you can be your Pan-Africanist. So what are you? I'm foundational Black American. Okay, so we got to be black first, and then the foundational Black American is our movement. That's our tribe, but we all black first, number one. You know what I'm saying? Oh, what are you? I'm African. All right, you got to be black first. Whatever the case you may be, we got to be black first, and that's how we stay on code.
Ooh, you on fire today. So let me, I'm gonna ask, why is it people like DL Hughley, and I want your perspective. Why is it they feel that they've been deemed the necessary voice of reason to speak on black politics and to speak on black socialism, to speak on blackism, period? Why is it that he feels, people like him feel, they can make those comments? Because it's not that I'm a big time Young Thug fan or Gunna fan, but that's very incriminating as a person like DL Hughley, who's liked by white and black people, to come out and say that about someone. You know, if I'm asking this question because if I'm already, being indicted, right? Let's just say I'm being indicted, Warren G. And I don't know David from No Compromise, but David from No Compromise is popping. Like, everybody love him. And the court of public opinion is crazy. And if you come out and say something like that, that even makes me look even worse. Why is it people like him within our community think that they've been deemed the spokesman for our community? Why is that?
He feels that people like him, and he feels that way. Black folks like that, they feel that way because white people deems them to be important, to speak out on these matters. That's the only reason why. If he was on code, they wouldn't allow him to speak. We saw this. We've seen this happen time and time again, where you have black people who decide that they want to get off code with the white dominant society, and they want to get on code with black folks, with their people. They want to come back home. Those people are canceled out. They will not allow you to do this, and they do this through all aspects. They do this through entertainment, big part of entertainment. They do this through education. You know what I'm saying? So when you take a close look at it, we gotta take a look at DL Hughley's and people like him. We gotta take a look at their resume. Have they ever led any movements that benefited black people as a whole? I'm not talking about just going out and for charity because it's part of your contract and you're going to volunteer help building someone's home, or you're going to go out and vote Democratic. Like, no, I'm talking about, have you led anything that you believe that's going to benefit black people as a whole? Not some blacks, not black people who only live in, who only live in LA or who only live in New York. We're talking about black people as a whole. Have you ever attempted? And I can say from looking at DL Hughley's resume, he's never attempted to do that. And he's never attempted to speak out against the power structure, which is white supremacy. He spoke out on racism before, lightly. He was doing that when the police was going crazy You know, every summer they go crazy, and they assassinate at least 3 to 4 or 5 of our brothers and sisters within a month or two. You know, they do this every year. Um, so you see, I've heard him speak out a little bit, but he hasn't led a movement and said, "Listen, this is what I'm creating. This is what we're going to stick to. This is the agenda. The agenda is for black people to be self-empowered so that we can build up our economic situation." He hasn't done that. And then a lot of the times you get people who fall into the trap and they say, well, how do you know that? He don't got to tell you what he's doing. We all black. He has an obligation. He has a platform that's a lot larger than others. He has an obligation to pull up his black people as far as he can. One man can't do it all, but he can invite his other peoples in and say, let's build up our black nation. He can have, I mean, he can, even if he doesn't do it through cash, money, or whatever, he can do it and say, I'm going to create my own show, my own web series, my own TV series, and we're going to go about it this way. It's going to be dealt on black issues. We want to create essentially another updated version of the Cosby Show, something like that, where we're not compromising our integrity to impress white folks, Asian folks, Latino folks. You know what I'm saying? So D.L. Hughley and guys like him, they're despicable, man. They're despicable, man. And I don't say that lightly. They really are, because they get up on TV and they would do what Tariq Nasheed would say is buck dancing. They would buck dance all over the stage. And they'll keep doing it until somebody white in the crowd laughs. Then once they laugh, they know they got it all right. They on code with them. And that's one of the biggest problems, Warren G, is that these people are off code. They're not on code with us. They're on a code, but it's not on code with black folks. They're on code, they're on par with the white society. Remember, the society is not just out there somewhere. Society is a part of your culture. It's a part of you. You bring society everywhere with you. This is why we say the dominant society, white supremacy, is the dominant society, because they bring their supremacy with them everywhere. I don't think that they're supreme over black people, but when you just look at it from the politics point of view, they own and control everything that we need, everything that we want to own. They own and control it. You understand? But just as a black melanated person, I can never say a white person who is less melanated is has supremacy over us, knowing the inventions and all of the things that we've done to be able to push this nation forward. And just the foundation of the nation being built was on the backs of our ancestors. You know, so I can never say that, but the society is in you, and they bring that society with them. We have to bring a society of black first. So when we see people like D.L. Hughley and Chris Rock and these dudes who would sit there and allow white people in their circle to disrespect black people, we have to say they are no longer part of our community. We are not going to support them, just saying the same way we won't support other race groups who is going to go against our morals and everything that we stand for. We are going to exile you. There's no point of, you will never return, because you knowingly went on television, knowingly. Is it ain't like D.L. Hughley and Chris Ryan, like dudes like that is dumb. It ain't like they don't read, they understand, but you knowingly went on national television, or you went to media who's going to make it national. They're going to go from local to making it national, and you make these type of comments because you believe that you're right. We don't have to agree with you, but you did compromise us as a race. So what do you think these other groups are going to do? You know? So again, I'm definitely not picking up what Young Thug and Gunna's doing. I'm right here in Atlanta. I see, you know what I'm saying? Like, they, you know, I know how Cleveland Avenue is, and and Old National Highway is and all that over there. Like you can see it. You know the crime, but it goes much deeper than that. It goes much deeper than that, and you have the attorney, the the AG over there for the district over there in DeKalb. I'm sorry, in Fulton, and she's black, and she's on the same code with D.L. Hughley and all of them, and she's talking a lot of smack. But I'll digress right there.
Oh, look, no, because I'm about to hit you. Would you say being black, famous, and having a little bit of money is their meritorious manumission?
Nah, I wouldn't say that, bro. I wouldn't say that. Um, because how you get rich or wealthy is how you get to that point. I would say that matters. But some people play the game, and then once they get on top, they help their people. So I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say that. One big example that I take a look at is like a Nipsey Hussle. When Nipsey Hussle came out, right? He was talking about, yo, you know what I'm saying? Yo, we F these bees, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like he's nice. I like Nipsey Hussle. But he played the game, he did it well because he knew what he was doing. The brother knew. He already had spoke to Rick Ross, the rapper Rick Ross and all of that. He spoke to other guys. He already knew. I'm a businessman. Nipsey Hussle will tell you I'm a businessman first. So he played the game. When he got his money, what he started doing? Buying up property. He was having, you know what I'm saying? He was having little webinars and all of that, showing other black people on how they can build up their businesses and how you be one. You know what I mean? And how what he was trying to Bob Crenshaw and all that. Come on, fam. Like he's a classic point. So he played the if I had just only judged Nipsey Hussle from the beginning of his career, and I would say he was a terror, he was no good, he was a thug. It's like, but yo, when he got his paper, he went straight for his people. And it not only that, it wasn't like when he got his paper, he was helping his people along the way, all along, from the first step to unfortunately to the day he was assassinated. But the dude was helping, Nipsey was helping people, black folks in particular, all along. So this is, you know what I mean? So that's one classic point. He played the game, he played it well. He used their he played their game, used their rules against them. And when they figured him out and said, "Whoa, this dude is about he's about to buy Crenshaw. This dude is about to do. This dude is he's helping people open up businesses. He's bringing awareness to black economics." No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And he got influence because he's got the whole rap game on his back. Because I don't care what nobody say. Nipsey Hussle was dumb nice lyrically. He'll rip. I mean, he can go toe to toe with anybody lyrically. So he got the rap. He got the rap game on his back. He's got the respect of the older cast, the elders in the rap, the elderly rappers. He's got the respect of the younger rappers. He got the respect of the streets. He got the respect of the people in the suburbs. All around, he's an all-around player. And he's a likable guy. When you talk to him, he's straight. He was international. A lot of people was talking about he might be the descendant of Tallahassee, I don't want to butcher my brother's name, but I think it's Tallahassee, the second, I believe. I could be wrong, but they were saying that he was the descendant of him. So that was over there in East Africa. Yo, man.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember he said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so it's like man, he just had it all around, and he was in the process of revolution, and they said absolutely not. Absolutely not. He's not on code with us. We have to take care of him. And they did the same thing they did with Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, our other brothers and sisters as well. You know what I'm saying? So, and they use one of us, Notorious Manumission. So the killers that actually did it, I think they are more so on the Notorious Manumission side. I don't think they've ever gone to prison. Even if they did, they'll be out. They'll create new identities for these dudes, and they'll be able to live again because they hindered to the white power structure, the white on black crime, which is why I say it's no black on black crime. So no, I wouldn't say that, brother.
Ooh, so, hey, let me ask you this. I'll gotta ask you another question, my brother. Do you feel like not being on code sends like an alert, like a text message to the other racial groups to come in and sow discord and cause more confusion because they know we're not on code? Can you speak to that?
Yes, absolutely. A big point in this is the example of this is with Black Panthers, right? They would not even, um, the gay lords, uh, your man, your homo man. We know that when they created this COINTELPRO, we knew that they wanted to cause division. We knew they wanted to infiltrate. We've seen them do this before. They've done it with the NAACP, although it started out as being white, but they've done that with them. They've done it with the civil rights movement. We've seen it done before. They tried to do it with the UNIA, but the UNIA was really strong. So instead, they just, tried to destroy Marcus Garvey's reputation. They've they've tried to do this with all of our movements that we've started, and infiltrate. So once they see that we're not on code, yes, they send their minions in, and a lot of the times they're not going to send some white guy in to try to join our gang. When you take a close look at the gangs in LA, the Bloods and the Crips, right? When you take these weren't gangs that were created to just kill each other. They were being reactionary to the white gangs that was beating on our brothers and sisters walking back, to and fro from school. They were being reactionary and saying, yo, we're gonna have to group up together to combat what they're doing. So we became reactionary in that sense. What they did, they spotted out the weakness, which was the unity, right? We were fighting over territory. We were disputing over territory. Once they saw us dispute over their territory, they infiltrated. And that's what they did. Same thing with Black Panthers. When they saw that there was some bickering, just a little bit, going on amongst the chapters in different states, they infiltrated. They sent one of their ops, one of us, to pretend to be B1, gather information, go back and gain Notorious Manumission. They sent a black person, whether male or female, who was not on code. They know exactly who to get. They know exactly who to get. Remember, they tried to even go at Malcolm X. They tried to give him Notorious Manumission. They tried it, never accomplished it. You know what I'm saying? So we would have to look at it in that same sense of Malcolm X when he said, "You disgust me for even trying to offer me money to go against the Nation of Islam. You disgust me to go against my own people. And I will never do it." You know, we gotta have that type of mentality. But because these people know that that's not going to be all of us, because we struggle, we have a common struggle. We are all trying to make it. And that can be making it out of the hood, making it out of a situation at home, domestic situation. We're trying to make out of domestic abuse. We're trying to make it from day to day with our economics. We're trying to make it. they can look at us and tell the struggle that we have. They go after those people. They go after you. And only the strong will survive that. Only the strong will turn it down. And only the conscious would turn it down. But the unconscious, they'll definitely have their hands out reaching out saying, boss, you don't even got to explain everything to me. Just show me where the coons is at, and I'll show you how we can treat them. That's just how they are, bro. So that's what I would say right there.
Now I'm gonna pivot just a little bit. Just a little bit. Why do you think? I know we spoke on that Meg Thee Stallion stuff, but why do you think we feel the need to want to go on a public platform with Gayle King and throw another person under the bus? Why mentally? Why do we think that that's okay?
Because we've been conditioned to believe that that is okay. The white community has literally conditioned us to believe that as long as we're sitting up there telling the truth, nothing else matters, right? I mean, it's just the truth. When it's wrong, even if it's not the whole truth, it's still wrong because you're going on public display. You're doing it in the public. Even if you're not a public figure, you're still in the public airing out our laundry. We don't air out our laundry. We're not supposed to do that. Other race groups don't do that, and we haven't learned that these other race groups, especially the white society, they're not our friends. John Henrik Clarke always said it. We don't have any friends. If you want a friend, look in the mirror, and you don't turn away from that mirror until you love what you see. That was John Henrik Clarke. We have this illusion that if we can just get up there with the dominant society or with another black person in cooperation with the dominant society, that we're changing the world. We're changing the way things are being perceived from them on us. Other times, we just know we're going to get our reward. We know we're going to get this money, and as long as my family is good, that's all that matters. We're not thinking in nationhood. So we misunderstood the enemy, and we misunderstood our nation, what we have to do, and where we have to go, and how we have to go about doing it. We misunderstood from the beginning because we believe these people are our friends.
Ooh. Now I'm gonna hit you with some stuff. Do you? Me personally, I would have thought with the price of inflation, the price of gas, the price of how everything is, that we would band more together. Do you feel at this point right now that it's too many distractions for us to be on code? That's one question. That's the first part of it. And the second question is, do you feel like we even want to be on code with each other?
The first question could be twofold, but I'm gonna just take one side, and I'm going to say that there are a lot of distractions. Yes, there are a lot of distractions, but we can overcome those distractions. The distraction is only as strong as you allow it to be. And as black people, we have allowed technology, drama, fear, we've allowed these things to control our emotions, to control and dictate how and we perceive life. And we've given too much power to that distraction, to those distractions. We haven't used technology the way that we should. I'm talking about as a whole, right? I mean, I know we get in there as black people. You have some black folks who are doing it, but as a whole, we haven't gotten to the point to where we are using we're using the internet to influence black people as a whole. We still have too many divisions, way too many divisions. And other groups have their divisions too, but we're the only race group that has divisions, and we allow it to separate us. These other race groups, they have these divisions that can be distractions, but because they recognize the distraction, they go right back on code with each other, and they remember it's all about building a nation. So Latinos, white folks, the Asians, they have just as much distractions as we do. But when it comes to just being an Asian, they throw all that nonsense to the side. They gather, these people will gather their children. They look them in the eye when they're in China. They say, hey, listen, we know Chinese and Japanese folks don't get along. But when you go to America, you're an Asian, and you have to be one with that Japanese. And then when behind closed doors, you guys can separate as much as you want. You can hate each other and whatever you want to do. But in the public view, you are Asian. You're Asian first, because being Asian is what got them reparations. You know what I'm saying? Not being Chinese or Japanese. So in order to continue those rewards and to continue with their nation building, you got to be an Asian first. Indians do the same thing. The Jews, they do the same thing. As black people, we haven't gotten to the point where we can look. I'm talking about as a whole now. We haven't gotten to the point where we can look our children in the eye as a whole, where all of us are doing this every morning. We're looking them in the eye and saying, you are black first. I know you want to tell your little black jokes or whatever when you're in school, but if you see a white person there with you, if you see an Asian person there, you see another race group there, you save that black joke. You don't even make it. Don't make the joke. And anytime, you have, this disagreement, you side up with your fellow black. Even though they may just be wrong, you side up with them in public, and then when you behind closed doors, you let them know they was wrong for that, and that you spotted out their scheme and their lie. Like, we haven't gotten to the point where we're doing that as a whole. And once we get to the point where we can do just those simple things, because we can do bigger things than that, just those simple things, how are we going to be able to cut out the distractions, and how are we going to be able to teach our children to cut out the distractions? We can use what is meant to be distracting to us, we can use it for our benefit. We haven't done it yet because, again, we misunderstood. We misunderstood who is our friend and who is not. And because we misunderstood, we have unintentionally, unconsciously gotten off cold.
Ooh, this is my last question. This is my last question. Do we have any friends in this society today, in the United States of America Incorporated? Do black folk have any allies?
If you know what, Warren G, if you would have asked me this 20 years, 30 years ago, I would have told you potentially I see the Latinos, these Puerto Ricans, people who call themselves Puerto Ricans, the Spanish, well, I'll stick to Puerto Ricans. I would have said potentially they could have been our friends. But when I take a look back at it, no, we do not have any friends. What is a friend going to do? When they see that their other friend is in need, in time of need, they're going to come to the rescue by any means necessary. And it doesn't matter. They will compromise everything to make sure that their friend is good. So even if that means losing friendship, just to make sure that they are good, you're going to do it. When every time black people have been in trouble, there's been no race that has, as a whole, come to our rescue. If I'm lying, I would love anybody who's listening or who will listen, I would love for you to show me an example. But remember, that example has got to be as the race as a whole. You can't show me some individuals that go in the Black Lives Matter march. I'm talking about as a whole. There has been no one that has come to our rescue. When we were being enslaved by the Muslims in Africa in 700, 700 AD, nobody from anywhere across the world came to our rescue, and people heard and knew about it. Instead, we only had other Africans coming to rescue us. When we were enslaved in the Caribbean, other groups from all over the world knew about it, but instead of coming to rescue us, they played a part in the slavery. So when instead of England coming to rescue us, they became businessmen in the slave trade. They even helped build stronger ships. So that way they said, we can cut out just going through the Caribbean. We can just take slaves from Africa, bring them straight to America. You know what I'm saying? When we were enslaved here in America, nobody from any race group didn't come to our rescue. The Asians did not come to our rescue. The Jews didn't either. Even now that we are saying, okay, legally slavery is over. Legally, they say, but we are demanding our reparations. No race group is coming over and saying, we are with black people. We stand with them. They should get their reparations. They're not doing that. You see, instead, they're going up against us and saying, this is why you shouldn't receive it. Pull yourself up by your own bootstrap. It's a free world. That's because they receive their awards from the white society as a whole. We haven't. When we were enslaved here, these so-called Native Americans and these folks who want to call themselves, they got Cherokee and all that, they want to be proud of that. Just remember, it was the Cherokee, Chickasaw, and all those groups who helped with who aided the Confederates with the enslavement of black folks. Let's just remember that part. They helped with that. As a matter of fact, they had slaves. So them living in the land, watching our struggle, understanding that their ancestors were African too. Like, they're not real native to the land. There were people there before that. So they understand they understand, overstand, and understand. They did all three of those things, but still they aided in the slavery process and the enslavement. So nobody's come to our rescue. We have no friends. The only friends we have is ourselves. That's it. We have no friends. I want to make that very clear. We have no friends. Black people as a whole have no friends. If we have friends, and if you say that I'm wrong, prove to me and show me what race group as a whole has come to the aid of black people. Do not name Castro, because most blacks most Cubans that Castro was dealing with was black. And Castro descendants, ancestors were black themselves. So Castro already knew what it was. All right? There's a lot of blacks who went to Cuba. Cuba has the third largest black population in the world. First Africa, then Brazil, then Cuba. There's a lot of blacks living there. So he knew who he was trying to aid and help. This is why America gave him so much of a tough time with Fidel Castro. So we don't have any friends. The Jews are not our friends. I'm talking about these white Jews now. Um, the Jews are not our friends. The Asians are not our friends. Okay? They never stood up and said, yo, man, if we're going to get a hate crime bill passed for us, what about these black folk? We was here when they built the steam engine. We was here when they already had the railroads built. We just stood there, watched and copied, and then went back home and rebuilt it ourselves. The only thing that we did was re-engineer. We didn't engineer. We re-engineered. We think that they deserve reparations. We think they deserve to have a hate crime bill passed for them. They didn't stand up and do that. And now you have the Latinos who Biden has said told our so-called leaders that we're going to have to learn to work with these Latinos. They're not giving us reparations, right? So you have the Latinos who are coming up saying, it's a free world. If we did it and we became successful, you can become successful as well. When they don't understand and they misunderstood the fact that they were given a small form of our reparations when they came over here. So when they came over here, they weren't painters. You see these guys building, they doing construction and building homes. They weren't doing that back in their hometown, because if they were, they would have stayed where they were and did what? Made it work there. I believe Tariq Nasheed and Umar Johnson speak a lot about this, about people staying in their hometown and making it work. Right? Stop talking about that. Stop talking greasy about everybody else. If you're leaving your hometown and fleeing your land, and then gonna talk about the people and talk greasy about the people that has gone through the struggle in a different land. They're coming over and they're receiving reparations. Small forms of it though, but they're definitely being aided by the dominant society. You can't get Haitians to come over here and do that unless they're gonna be on code. That's the only way they'll let you do that. As a Haitian, you gotta be on code. You cannot think as black nationalism. Absolutely not. They would bring you right back to Haiti with the quickness. So that's it, right? That's my answer right there, brother. I'm sorry for being long with it. But that's where it stands out right there. I just want to make myself clear. We have no friends. If I'm wrong, show me in history, anywhere from past history, ancient history, to right now, where we living at, right now, today, present day, show me any group as a race group, as a whole, not 4 and 5 people who decided to try to make a difference. I'm talking about as a whole. What race group got on code and said, we're going to go and fight for these black folks? But I tell you one thing, black folks has done that for every race group here in the world. We fought in wars that we had no business fighting in. We had men killed, assassinated, in which they should not have been. We should have had a bunch of Muhammad Ali's who said, we ain't going nowhere. Elijah Muhammad warned against, Elijah Muhammad was the first one to do that. He was the first one to say, I ain't going no war. What are you talking about? We give a lot of the props to Muhammad Ali because he was out there, right? Like he was a boxer, he was a fighter. Elijah Muhammad was not a boxer. But Elijah Muhammad said, I ain't doing that. He looked them dead in their eyes and said, I'm not doing it. What? And he was more bold about it, right? And he had the smarts and intelligence, right? So, and nobody had to push him into doing it. I think with Muhammad Ali, he had Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad had his back. Other folks had his back in the Nation of Islam. So he had some sort of support. Elijah Muhammad did it, whether he had support or not, right? Because he was thinking black nationalism. So we fought in everything. We will break our backs to make sure every nation has a free turn, has an equal opportunity. We've done this with civil rights and everything. We will make sure they have equal opportunity to come over to this land called America and demonstrate nationhood. But the moment it comes time for our turn, they turn their backs on us. We welcome them with open hands. They push us away. This is consistent. And if, again, we have no friends, if we do, show me as a whole, what group done it as a whole, and I would turn around and say I was wrong about this whole podcast. I was completely wrong.
Man, my brother again coming through. Man, I appreciate you, my brother. Man, I appreciate everybody that dropped through. Man, you dropped jewels. Man, I have been watching the Meg Thee Stallion thing, so I know we spoke about it, but then when I saw DL Hughley's comments, I'm like, oh, I got to to um, get my brother David from No Compromise's opinion on it. But we got somebody else that want to speak real quick. Go ahead, my sister. Speak on this real quick for us.
Have good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. I try not to speak too much because I'm always busy, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for an intelligent and a productive conversation, and I learned a lot. And I didn't know about the Make the Stallion thing. I'm not really a fan of hers. I mean, I guess I don't want to sound like off code or whatever, but when I started learning about Meg Thee Stallion, I didn't like the fact that her name is Meg Thee Stallion because I feel like, we're not satisfied with being called bitches, so now we want to be called male horses or whatever. And and I noticed that I learned like maybe a week ago that she was on the Oscars or something or some show, and she had on like whatever, and people are playing her new song called Plan B or whatever it is. And I'm a Libra, whatever, so I kind of understand both sides of it. But I feel like in this dire straits that we're in, like I feel like that's the wrong message for us right now as Black people. So but everything else you talked about, that what's that word you said you call I feel like she's the person right now that's getting all of that. What is it, that award thing or whatever you call it, man or something? I never even heard of that, and I try to learn about all of this stuff, and that's something new. I feel like she's that person. Gail has always been off cold. A lot of people off cold. D.L. Hughley, he tried to talk about Black people.
You on mute, my sister. You gotta unmute yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you fine. You fine. You dropping jewels.
Yeah,
You dropping jewels. That's why we're not interrupting you. You
yeah.
dropping bombs right now. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, I just think that Meg Thee Stallion is that person that you're talking about as far as getting the awards and all that stuff. That name. What do you call that? What do you call it?
Meritorious manumission.
Married.
Meritorious manumission.
Okay. Yeah.
And like my brother David was talking about, he broke down
Yeah.
the science behind that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's that. I feel like she's that chosen one like that because I don't really listen to her music, and I just somebody asked me, they're like, oh, Meg Thee Stallion. I'm like, well, why she call herself a male horse? They're like, like the term like built like a stallion. I'm like, yeah, that's a male horse. And then they just like silent after that. And I'm like, okay, that to me makes her whack already, but I don't want to be like off code. She seemed like she got a good style or whatever, but my phone went. Hang on. Okay, I'm still here. Yeah, so but anyway, thank you for this conversation. It was, a lot of these spaces are good. Some of them are just like people are arguing, and this was very, very productive. It was small, and thank you for everything B1 being here. I saw your profile about farming, whatever. So, thank y'all so, so, so much for this, man. This was awesome, for real. Thank you.
Oh man, no, my sister. Let me tell you something. Me and my brother David, I listened to his podcast, and he's got a very good podcast. It's called No Compromise, and once I listened to it, I was like, man, I gotta link up with this brother. I would love to ask this brother some questions. And then the brother got me on his thing and was asking me questions, and I was like, man, I want to ask him questions. So we finally carved out the time. And my brother David, no, I'm not a clout chaser. I want him to be that person. I want him because his platform and what he does in the community is amazing. And I feel like we need to model that behavior. And what I like about my brother David is he's not a clout chaser. He's gonna do what needs to be done for the community, no matter who's looking. And when we started doing these spaces, that's what we talked about it. We talked about it many a times. Like we doing these spaces to educate people and give them a different perspective. We're not, I am not gonna hold no space where we're gonna be arguing. Now we could agree to disagree. We're not gonna publicly shame people on this platform. This is not a I'm right and you're wrong. This is we're gonna compare notes and we can always agree to disagree. So everybody can have their own perspective. And I'm not one where I want a whole bunch of people in it because you know I feel like that's not really my lane. My lane is for people to get into this space and be like, oh damn, that dude, no compromise, that dude is dropping jewels. Let me go research what he said. I feel happy when people such as yourself is like, hey man, this was good. It wasn't no drama. Because you're right. I've been in a lot of spaces where I just leave it because they just arguing. And I'm like, we spend so much time trying to prove each other wrong. Let's take 5 minutes of that and uplift each other for just bringing a different perspective. So I do appreciate, that you came into this space, and we do this. Me and my brother, we organize and try to do this every Wednesday. And my brother David, he three hours ahead, so he has carved out time out of his busy schedule. You know what I'm saying, to get with me to answer those questions. And we don't block people out. I know you noticed that when people jump in, I'll give anybody a chance to speak as long as you're not trolling and trying to tear somebody's opinion down. I don't agree with that because this is not the platform. We do that too much as it is. If I wanted to do that, I got a whole bunch of siblings and cousins that'll argue me till the cows come home. but on this platform, we're here to uplift, educate, and every day is a school day. Every time I talk to this brother say something, I'll be like, damn, I didn't even know that. so we appreciate everybody. We appreciate my brother David. Please check out his podcast. It's called No Compromise. It's a very, very good podcast. I suggest everybody go check it out. I already got my cousins and people that I know on it, man, because I really think this brother is doing something tremendous. And I just feel like I'm carving out my own lane. I like to interview. That's why I love it when this brother come on, because this brother's always dropping facts. And my brother his perspective is very, very, very unique. It's very unique. And I feel like anybody that grew up in the church like me and him, our perspectives are a lot different and unique from everybody else's. And like I said, man, I appreciate everyone that has listened and dropped in here. And man, we're gonna reconvene next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And my brother David, again, man, before you go, let everybody know where they can find you, my brother.
Yes, indeed. And you can find me No Compromise Media, No Compromise Media. So you can look that up on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I've actually been banned from doing lives on TikTok because I've talked about the Black family structure being the solutions. They deemed that as hateful conversation. I'm not able to do lives on TikTok for a little while, but it's all good. I still make videos or podcasts, but yeah, again, I'm just really active on Instagram and on TikTok. No Compromise Media, No Compromise Media. And again, I just want to say thank you for sister listening. And the other brother, I'm not sure if it's a brother or sister, but it says everything. Thank you guys for coming in. My boy Warren G, he's being really modest. He's a modest guy, but he drops a lot of knowledge as well. He can probably read about 3 books in a week, in all honesty. So
Oh,
this,
my brother
this
broke up.
brother,
That's okay. You
hold
broke up, my
on,
brother.
can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
now we can hear you.
Okay. No, what I was saying, what I was just saying was, I thank you guys for coming in and just engaging in our conversation. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, my boy Warren G, he's being really modest, man. This brother, his brother is very highly intelligent, and he reads about 3 books a week. So
That's
he's
a
got
lie. I don't do that no more. Please don't believe him. Strike that one from the record. He reads about 3 to 4 books a week. I'm trying to catch up to him. That's why I like to interview, because I'm still learning, as Nidley Fuller Jr. teaches us. This brother already got the knowledge. I'm sorry I had to jump in and interrupt him. But no, do not believe what this brother is saying.
Oh man. But yo, that's all it is, man. Yo, we just have a good time as black people, and we just all about B1 and trying to build. So we do this every week, and we don't view each other as what I say is the end all be all. Yo, we learning from each other. And this, once we learn from each other, we just push it out, and we just try to stay active in our community. So again, you can catch me on No Compromise. No Compromise. You can type that in, or you can Google it. And also, you can also check me out on Young Kings Elite, youngkingselite.com. That's my nonprofit organization that I have, in which I use basketball as a tool to mentor young men. Dominant for the biggest part, young black youth, but I don't reject any other race. But my aim is the black youth. My aim is the black youth, and if anybody else comes along with that, they come along. But the aim is the black youth, and that's what I do. And it's kind of hard. I'm trying to get that on par, trying to get that going. And my page has been hacked a couple of times, so I'm just rebuilding my Instagram and all that. But if anything, youngkingselite.com, youngkingselite.com, and No Compromise Media. No Compromise Media.
Man, like I said, I appreciate my brother. Very knowledgeable. Man, he's he's really helped me a lot, just in my studies, and just different books and different quotes that he uses and stuff like that. And just me coming into the knowledge and being able to listen to a brother like him, who's very knowledgeable but very humble, and it makes it a lot easier for me, you know what I'm saying, to listen to someone who's very knowledgeable. Even like my boy Juan, it's some real knowledgeable people out there that's humble. Those are the people you want to get with. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with being a little confident, but you don't want to take your knowledge and use it and abuse it and turn it into being arrogant. And my brother's very humble, very knowledgeable, and really, like, when I ask him the questions, in my mind, I'd be like, yeah, man, this is probably gonna be a whack question. I remember when I first started interviewing him, and he was like, man, that's a really good question. And then when my cousin listened to us, she was like, man, you be asking him some good questions. I'm like, you think? She like, yeah, man. My cousin Mariah, shout out to my cousin Mariah. And then my sister be telling me the same thing. So I'm like, well, this brother kind of put me on the game, because I didn't even think I was asking good questions until my brother was like, man, you asking some good questions. So I always gonna give much love and respect to this brother, man, because he didn't have to take out the time to answer my question. This brother's got 1,000 things going on, but he has taken out the time to answer these questions, and to speak on what is going on in this United States of America Incorporated today. So I'ma always give this brother flowers. He know that already. I'ma always give him flowers. I don't care what nobody say, and can't no nigga out there tell me nothing different. Because as this brother ascends and he becomes bigger than what he already is, people gonna be trying to divide it because that's how we are sometimes. And I already know what's coming, David. You already know it's coming, David. Man, why you let that nigga Warren interview you, man? He don't even know what he talking about. He don't even got enough followers. You know, I already see that coming as my brother ascends and becomes greater than what he already is. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. I appreciate everybody listening that's out there. My brother David already know this is going to be going on the YouTube page. Everybody take care. Be safe out there. Love, live life. Stay in your lane. Don't try to be in nobody else's. And man, we going to reconvene next Wednesday at the same time. All right?
No doubt, man. Peace and blessings to you all.
All right. You all stay safe. And next Wednesday, same time.
Thanks.
No problem. Be safe.
Thank you. You guys too.